Rank 1, the Gong farmer. It's midnight and you are being lowered on a rope into a pit of human poop because the law says a man like you is only allowed to work in the dark. Every toilet in the castle empties into one pit. They call the toilets garderobes, a polite word for a stone seat over a hole. The Lord uses it, the knights use it, the visiting bishop uses it, years of them, all of them, dropping down the chutes into the black, and when the pit fills, somebody has to climb in and dig it out by hand. That somebody is you. They call you a nightman because you are only permitted to work between 9 at night and 5 in the morning, when the rest of them are asleep and don't have to see you. They don't want to see you. They don't want to smell you either, and they can. A working gong farmer can be smelled from 3 streets away, so you go down, sometimes to your waist, sometimes to your neck. You fill the buckets, and a boy up top hauls them out on a rope, and you breathe through your mouth, and you do not let yourself think about what your hands are touching. The pit can kill you faster than the smell. The waste gives off a gas you cannot see, enough to drop a grown man where he stands and leave him face down to drown in it. So before you climb in, you lower a candle on a string. If the flame keeps burning, the air is good, and you live. If the flame gutters and dies, climb out, because you're next. A Gong farmer named Richard the Raker drowned in one of these pits in the year 1326. The floor of a privy rotted through beneath him, and he fell, and he went under, and he did not come back up. Here's the cruelty of it. He wasn't even working. It was his day off. It was his own toilet. Now here's the part nobody believes. You are paid more than almost anyone in this castle. More in a single night than a skilled stonemason earns in a week. More than a carpenter. More than some of the priests. And whatever drops down the chute by accident, a ring slipping off a drunk lord's finger, a coin from a forgotten pocket, is yours, if your bare hand can find it down there in the dark. You are the richest man nobody in the kingdom will stand next to. You live outside the walls because the smell never washes off, not with any amount of water, and the people you make rich by keeping their cesspits clean will cross the street rather than breathe your air. You send a coin home to your mother in the village. She can't read the note you tie to it. She holds the coin up to the light, and she decides her son must be doing well for himself in the city. And one more duty they never mention. When the castle is under siege, desperate enemies sometimes try to climb up the latrine chutes to get inside the walls. So part of your job, down there in the dark with the filth and the gas, is killing them before they reach the top. You are done with the pit. You will never truly be clean again, but you are done with the pit. Rank 2. The spit boy. You've climbed one rung, out of the cold filth and into the fire. You're the lowest body in the castle kitchen, and the kitchen is the busiest, hottest, most dangerous room in the whole fortress. It might feed 200 people twice a day, and your entire job is one motion. You turn the spit. A great kitchen runs a dozen open fires at once, roasting whole animals, and every spit has to be turned by hand so the meat cooks evenly and doesn't blacken on one side. The rod is iron. The meat on it weighs more than 30 pounds, and you turn it and turn it and turn it through an entire feast that lasts for hours, standing close enough to the flames that the hair singes off your arms. You learn exactly what heat does to a body over time. The headache comes first, then the dizziness, then the floor begins to tilt, and fainting in front of an open fire is a death the songs forget to mention. Even a few feet back, the fat spits off the roasting meat and lands burning on your skin and in your eyes. And here is precisely what your life is worth. The moment someone invented a wheel that a dog could run inside to turn the spit for them, they replaced the boys with dogs. A whole breed of them, bred for it, set running in a wheel above the fire. You were not promoted out of this job. You were made obsolete by an animal, one that complained less than you did. At night they lock the kitchen, not to protect you, to stop you stealing the cooking fat because grease is worth money. It gets scraped and saved and melted into candles. They lock you out of the room that nearly killed you all day in case you try to steal the thing that's left over. You eat better than the village at least. You eat every single day, which is more than your mother can say this winter. You send another coin home. You don't tie a note to this one. There's nothing about this life you'd want her to know. Rank 3. The chamber servant. You've made it inside the castle proper, out of the smoke, into the living quarters, close enough to the nobility to reach out and touch them. They will never once know your name. That is the entire point of you. You're awake at 5:30 in the morning. You scrub the stone floors on your knees. You haul the water up by hand, bucket by bucket from the well. You change the rushes laid across the floors. You carry the lords' and ladies' chamber pots, full, down the stairs, every single morning, and you finish at 7 at night. And the next day, you do all of it again, and there are almost no days when you don't. And yet men fight each other for this job. That's the detail that should tell you everything about the world you were born into. The pay is almost nothing, but you're given a uniform in your Lord's colors, a dry roof, and a meal every single day of the year. Out in the village, one failed harvest means a funeral. In here, you eat. So men line up and compete for the privilege of carrying a noble's waist down a staircase, because at least their stomach is full while they do it. A single castle might run nearly 100 servants like you. You are one face among 100, and not one of the people you serve from dawn to dark could pick you out of a crowd. You hear that your mother died in the autumn. You hear it from a carter passing through, 3 weeks after the fact. You finish changing the rushes before you let yourself feel anything at all. Rank 4, the page. Someone finally notices that you don't drop the cups, and you are pulled up out of the scrubbing to serve at the high table itself. The strange thing is, this rank wasn't built for boys like you, who clawed up out of the dirt. It was built for the soft sons of wealthy families sent away to a great household to learn manners. The medieval version of boarding school. You're not one of them, and everyone in the hall knows you're not one of them. But you pour the wine without letting your hand shake. You carry the sealed letters across the freezing courtyard, and you learn a whole book of rules so absurd they're almost sweet. Don't blow your nose on the tablecloth. Don't spit on the floor when anyone's looking. Bow to exactly the right depth and not 1 inch lower. And up here, with your back against the wall, you finally get to watch the great men eat. You watch the knights you were raised to worship. You watch them lie to the allies they toasted an hour ago. You watch them scheme over each other's land. You watch one of them beat a servant bloody for spilling a single drop of ale on the table and then turn back to the feast, laughing as if nothing happened, and the songs fall apart in your hands. Chivalry is not a sacred code. It is an expensive, beautiful story that violent men tell about themselves to make their cruelty sound holy. You understand that now, completely, all the way down, and here is the worst part. You want it anyway. God help you, you still want to be one of them. Rank 5, the guard. You've put down the wine cup and picked up a blade. You wear real armor now, a fitted coat of mail, a real sword meant to end a life. And for the first time in your existence, people are a little afraid of you, instead of disgusted by you. In peacetime, a small castle holds maybe a dozen men like you. You work the gate, the portcullis, the drawbridge chains. You walk the wall in the freezing dark hour after hour, while everyone you're protecting sleeps warm beneath your feet. You answer to the constable, the man who runs the entire castle when the lord is away, who has his own rooms and his own authority. And mostly, the job is cold and quiet and crushingly boring, and the boredom is the lie, because the whole castle, every stone of it, was built for the one day a year the boredom ends. When a real siege comes, that dozen men becomes hundreds. At the great siege of Dover, they packed 140 knights and 1,000 fighting men behind those walls, and your quiet little stretch of wall becomes the single most dangerous patch of ground in the entire country. You aren't paid to fight. You are paid to already be standing there in your place on the worst morning of everyone's life, and you're good at it. You survive it, which up here is the only skill that counts. You get noticed again, but you've gone as far as a sword alone can carry a man, because the people who truly run this castle have never once drawn one. Rank 6, the steward. You will never be noble. You were not born for it, and no amount of climbing will ever change that. And you now run absolutely everything. You sit at the very top of every servant in the building. The money, the harvest, the stores, the hiring, the firing, the accounts, the keys to every locked room. All of it moves through your hands. You have your own private chambers. You may even hold a scrap of land in your own name. And when you walk the corridors now, the 100 servants you climbed up past drop their eyes to the floor, because you can end any one of them with a single sentence. And here is the quiet, buried truth of this rank. You hold more real, day-to-day power than half the nobles you still have to bow to. The Lord dreams of glory and war. You decide whether there is bread in the castle in February. The knight can kill a man. You decide whether the knight gets paid this season. You have become the most powerful person in this entire castle, who can still be dismissed on a whim, by a man whose only achievement was being born better than you. Hold on to those words, can still be dismissed, because everything above you now is a different kind of creature entirely, and the thing that separates you from them isn't skill, and it isn't loyalty, and it isn't worth, it's blood. Rank 7, the night. You kneel on a velvet cushion in a cold stone chapel, thick with incense. A lord steps forward, draws his sword, and lays the flat of the blade against each of your shoulders, and speaks the old sacred words. And you rise to your feet, a knight of the realm. In the street, commoners step out of your path and lower their eyes as you pass. You have golden spurs and a warhorse and a name that means something. You did it. The boy from the pit. You are, at long last, untouchable. For about a day. Because knighthood is not freedom. It is the heaviest chain you have ever worn. You do not own that gleaming armor. You owe for it. You do not own the warhorse beneath you. It was bought on a debt you'll spend years bleeding to repay. And the title comes welded to 100 obligations. 40 days of war every single year, at your own expense, plus the taxes, plus your absolute and unquestioning loyalty the instant your lord raises his banner. Even when he's raising it over a slaughter you can see coming from a mile away. You spent your entire life climbing toward the night in the songs, and what you became in the end was a very expensive, very well-polished coin, sitting in another man's purse, waiting patiently to be spent. Rank 8, the Lord. They give you land, a manor, and a farming village, and the one thing you swore as a starving boy that you would never, ever lack again, ground of your very own. You ride into the settlement on your warhorse, and you look down at the rotting thatched roofs and the muddy lanes, and it looks exactly like the place you were born. But the peasants don't pity you now. They are afraid of you. They drop to their knees, their faces pressed into the wet earth, the same way your own father once dropped to his knees when the iron men rode past. You are judge and jury and executioner here. You take the harvest tax. You settle the petty disputes over stolen pigs. You have men whipped for hunting a single deer in your private forest. And then winter comes, and the harvest fails entirely, and the village elders come to your hall, gaunt, hollow-cheeked, their children shivering behind them, and they kneel, and they beg you to lower the grain tax for just one season so they don't starve to death. And you remember the empty, cramping stomach. You remember the cold ditch and the burning roofs. You remember being them exactly, completely, and then you remember that your warhorse needs good oats, and your armor needs mending, and your men need their pay, and you look down into their crying eyes, your own face an iron mask, and you shake your head, and you take what you are owed. You never escaped the thing that crushed you in the mud as a boy. You just climbed high enough at last to become it. Rank 9, the king, the pit, the fire, the floors, the wall, the land, all of it is beneath you now. You sit at the very top of every ladder in the kingdom. You own the castle. You own the people inside it. You own the law itself. You won. So why can't you bring yourself to eat? Because before a single bite of your food reaches your mouth, another man tastes it first, and you watch his face, and you wait, and you count the seconds, because the single most likely way for a king to die is poison, slipped to him by a hand he trusted. You sleep with armed guards inside the room. You cannot take a walk alone. You cannot trust a smile. The higher you climbed, the more men needed you dead, until at the very top, almost everyone does. And here is the joke the whole castle has been telling, quietly, since the night they first lowered you into that pit on a rope. The man standing closest to you now, one of the most trusted, best paid, most powerful men in your entire court, holds a title. They call him the Groom of the Stool, and his actual job, the duty that makes him so close to the crown, is to wipe the king after he uses the privy. You began your life cleaning this castle's filth at the very bottom of it, and here at the very top on the throne, the filth is still here. It just wears a finer title than yours ever did. You try to remember the name of your mother's village, and you can't. It's gone, snuffed out, the way a candle goes out in the dark when the air turns bad. You climbed your entire life to get up out of the dirt, and the Gong farmer who drowned in his own pit, and you, the king poisoned at his own feast. In the end, the two of you arrive in exactly the same place, bones in the ground. The castle does not remember, and never did, which rung you happened to stand on. It just goes on standing, cold and patient, long after every single rank inside it has rotted away to nothing. You climbed your whole life out of the dirt, only to find that the throne was just the dirt with a better view, and a much longer fall. That's every rank in a medieval castle, from the bottom of the pit to the crown. This is a dramatization, but the ranks, the wages, and the men who lived and died inside these walls were all real. Drop a comment and tell me which rank you'd have died at. Be honest, and if the climb got to you, subscribe, because the next one is already being lowered into the dark. See you in the next one.